Mayor Kumas, members of council, I'm Jim Golden, the city's Director of Finance. This is one of our tape presentations of our priority-based budgeting updates. Priority-based budgeting is an approach to budgeting that we've undertaken over the last few years that evaluates our city programs against the desired results that were identified by the City Council, as well as some key program attributes that are a part of priority-based budgeting. The desired results that were identified by the City Council for the organization for community programs were vibrant amenities and opportunities for all, safe community, a reliable, innovative, and resilient infrastructure, and thriving economic climate. And on this slide, you could see the weighting that was applied to these four desired results by our community through community input that was gathered in 2014. The desired results for governance programs were also identified by the City Council, and they include ensuring timely, responsive, and efficient operations, supporting city operations to be their best, providing clear, inclusive, transparent leadership and collaboration, and developing and maintaining strong partnerships, following local, state, and federal rules, regulations, and mandates, protecting, investing in, and valuing the city's human and physical capital, and prudently managing and responsibly leveraging public funds. Besides these desired results, all of the city's programs are measured against program attributes. And the priority-based budgeting program attributes were identified by the Center for Priority-Based Budgeting that pioneered this approach. The attributes that are used include the mandate to provide a program, reliance on the city to provide the program, the cost recovery of the program, and the portion of the community that is served by the program. So each of our programs are measured against each of these four attributes, as well as their ability to impact the desired results. We have, citywide, we have 1,244 programs that have been identified in this process. 527 of those are in the general fund. And then within those 1,244, we have 737 distinct programs. So we have a number of programs that are offered in multiple areas of the city, different funds as well as divisions and departments. So there is some repetition, but overall there's 737 distinct programs. Also, these 1,244 programs can be broken down that 1,082 of them are community-oriented, while the remaining 162 are governance-type programs. After all the programs are scored against the desired results and the attributes, they are then given an overall score, and they are then placed in quartiles, quartile 1 through 4, with the highest scoring programs placed in the first quartile and the lowest scoring programs placed in the fourth quartile. And they are placed across these four quartiles through a process of standard deviation. So what we're doing is we have been presenting priority-based budgeting updates to the council. We did our first 3 in person. We're taping the balance of the remaining 10 presentations. And so you'll be getting 10 different priority-based budgeting updates taped delivered to you. We have focused on 3 of the attributes through the presentations that we made to the council. The remaining updates will be on the last attribute and the 9 desired results that were identified. And we'll go through, take each of the updates, we'll go through how each program is influencing the attributes or the results. So breaking down the different levels of the reliance on the city that as they are defined by the priority-based budgeting consultants. Again, we have a scoring from a high of a 4 to a low of a 0. Reliance on the city is looking at how the services are provided and where else can you get those services. So in this case, the highest score is where the city is the sole provider of the program, and there are no other public or private entities that provide a similar service. And the next level is where the city is currently the sole provider of the program, but there are other public or private entities that could be contracted to provide similar service. 2 score is where a program is offered by besides the city, it's offered by another governmental, nonprofit, or civic agency. And a 1 score is where a program is offered by other private businesses, but not located within the city limits. And finally, a 0 score is if we are offering a program that is also offered by other private businesses located within the city limits. So, again, we get into this worksheet that shows the highest areas of programs and budget dollars across the general fund and across these 5 level of attributes. So the highs are in the number of programs. Public safety has the most programs for where the city is a sole provider. They have 92 programs, and there are no other public or private entities providing a similar service. In the next level, Public Works and Natural Resources has 410 programs, where the city is the sole provider, but there are other public or private entities that could be contracted to provide similar service. The next is that Community Services has the most programs that are offered elsewhere only by another governmental, nonprofit, or civic agency. That's 49 programs. And then the next category, and you could tell looking at the summary that we do not have a lot of programs citywide that fall in the category that they're offered by another private business, but that they're not located within the city limits. Public Works, Natural Resources is the highest with 6 programs there. And then finally, programs that are offered by other private businesses located within the city limits. Community Services has the most of those programs at 50. Looking at the cost of programs, again,
Councilmember Christensen, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, when we are considering whether an alternate to, other private businesses offer the same service, isn't there any consideration given to how much more it might cost? Because why would we consider hiring someone else to provide the same service for more when we can provide it for less?
And that could be a consideration, but as far as evaluating it for these scores, all we're trying to do is see, is it being provided elsewhere?
Right.
I mean, you might make a individual determination about a program and whether we should continue or put more resources toward it based on price, but the overall score is being driven just on whether or not you can get it elsewhere.
Okay.
Those are the questions that as you start taking all of the information that you then start asking about these programs and you go, are we providing it for a lower cost? If so, why? And so it's just a series of questions that will evolve out of the data.
So now getting into the cost of programs, highest of those.
Yes, Councilmember Levison has a question.
Thank you. I guess the question I had in pertaining to the programs where there are other nonprofit agency providers, would that also be programs in the area of community services, especially that offer services and then we support their service providing through the budget with Housing and Human Service Advisory Board?
Are you asking about the actual programs that we
Yeah, so we may provide some portion of the program.
right, so that,
And then we may also be supporting those nonprofits that work in that area through another part of the city budget. Or is that program, for example, the money we set aside in the general fund budget for human service agencies outside of the scope of this kind of metric?
No, Mayor Coombs, members of council, all the general fund dollars, all citywide dollars, but most of the, we're talking general fund right now in that respect, but they are all programmed into here, but I think they're programmed separately, separate programs, and I think Teresa's looking at that up currently, but. But if the city's providing the program, it would be separate program from the Human Service Agency. So they're shown separately and scored separately.
Okay, all right. Well, and I guess if you wanted to look at the 49 programs, you provided a list of every single one of them.
Right.
Okay.
But it is a consideration, though, if we're providing that program and some agency elsewhere, a nonprofit is doing so, that's going to drive the score for that program that we're providing. So again, getting into-
Councilmember Finley.
I know.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I just, I took a seminar, and the city of Centennial, their entire public safety is contracted out. So I'm not sure that it's exactly accurate to say that the weighting of that is correct on ours. The city's the sole provider. It is, but there are others that provide those services.
So Mayor Coombs, members of council, and I was on this peer review group, and it drove us crazy, but, there is question about whether it's available and can you get that here? And I think we had that discussion about a lot of different services, and different departments had a different perspective on that. I think there's a lot of public works and natural resources programs that we were being scored that you could do that because of exactly what you point out, because another city can do it and get that done elsewhere by a private contractor, so why couldn't this as well? So I think that's a good point, and there was a lot of debate about that from different perspectives, but yes, it is true.
Can I ask a quick question?
Councilmember Levison.
Well, when you were mentioning that public safety had the highest number of programs, I was thinking, well, there are private security companies. So if you wanted to hire a private security company to provide security for your city, you could do that. I know, but conceivably, there is a private contractor out there that would provide, I mean, after all, the U.S. government hires Blackwater to provide security for embassies and other places in the world, but, conceivably anything that is provided you could find somebody somewhere to provide that service.
Agreed, but the thing is, can you find somebody to provide it here? And that is what we got into a lot of debate about today, right? So the question is, where the consultants go with is, so does the community have another choice for this service? Okay, and that was where that this kind of boils down to. And today, there are security services that might provide some of the programs that public safety does today, but probably not most of the programs. And we broke public safety down pretty significantly. It's not just a couple of programs there. So that's what's driving those scores. Should I move on?
Okay, move on quickly.
Oh, well, I'm trying to. All right, so then Power and Communications is the highest cost of programs for where the city's the sole provider at $58.6 million. Public Works Natural Resources, the highest cost where the city's the sole provider, but there are other public and private entities that could be contracted. That's at $30.7 million. Community Services has the highest cost of programs offered elsewhere by another governmental, nonprofit, or civic agency at $2.9 million. And Public Safety has the highest cost of programs offered by other private businesses, but none are located within the city limits, but only at $257,000, so not very many. And then Community Services is the highest cost of programs offered by other private businesses located within the city limits, and that's $6.4 million. So programs where the city is the sole provider and that there are no, so getting into the general fund highlights, and you can move to start to pull those up. There are 166 programs budgeted at $27.5 million, which is 42% of the general fund budget, where the city is the sole provider. And there are no public or private entities that provide a similar service. So again, general fund-wise, we have, again, 527 programs, $65.4 million budget. And so the summary is at the bottom of page, 191 is what I have. Underneath that summary is the general fund highlights, which we will take you through on the RAD tool. So again, the first 5 snapshots following that summary are for all citywide programs, and then get into the general fund summary, page 11 of the update, and I don't know, around 198 or 200 of your packet probably. So starting with the general fund, where the city is the sole provider. You tracking with me then? Okay. So we have 166 programs, $27.5 million, 42% of the total overall general fund budget. So we're programs where the city is a sole provider, but there are other public or private entities that could be contracted to provide a similar service. It's the second snapshot. There's 268 programs. It's budgeted at $31 million, and that's 47.4% of the general fund budget. And then next you've got programs that are offered by another governmental, nonprofit, or civic agency. There's 44 programs, $2.4 million of budget, which is 3.6% of the general fund budget. Programs offered by other private businesses, but none are located within the city limits. We only have 7 programs here, budget at $363,000, and which is about a 0.5% of the general fund budget. And then finally, program is offered by other private businesses located within the city limits. We have 42 programs in the general fund budgeted at $4.1 million, and that's 6.3% of the total general fund budget. So you can summarize that there are 93 general fund programs at $6.8 million of the general fund budget that are programs for which the city is not the sole provider. So finally, again, I'm not going to repeat myself on the list. You have both lists there, and break those down by the general fund and all other funds programs. Just want to summarize that we are still working to provide the complete list of programs and their definitions for y'all, and that will be hopefully available this week. It is a monster file, so it's taken some time to put that together. We're doing some editing to it as well to make sure that all of the definitions are current. But once we get that complete, we will get it to you. We also have access on the city's webpage.
and also all the underlying data available that supports this information will also be made available on the webpage. We did meet with the consultants for priority-based budgeting since we last met with you and talked to them about the online version of the RAD tool. And it'll probably be available to us later this year, but we don't expect that we'll probably be able to see that ourselves or use it or till about mid-year most likely.